Hi there, Dan West again. I was on YouTube as usual the other night, and I've been so cold I can't glue up my bench yet. And in the meantime, I've been thinking, about the drawers that I'm going to make. Since it's a traditional type bench, I'd love to dovetail them because I like to do hand cut dovetails. I like Frank Klaus style, and I don't have any jigs or templates and that kind of stuff. All those are nice and everything, but I don't have it. And I'm thinking, how am I going to make these drawers? How do I want to fasten them? I'm going to put a overlapping face on the drawer, so if I do that and dovetail them, you're losing half the detail of the dovetail, and so I'm not going to do that. Plus a little more time. I'm thinking about time also. California corners and all that kind of stuff. All the different types of joints you can make. It's just, again, setup time. Choose two setups. Box joints, I like box joints, but again, it takes time to do it and all that, and set up and everything. And then I got to thinking, what about a lock miter? I used to do a lot of lock miters before. In fact, the last time I ever done a lock miter was when I was in France. We used to get an order, and everyone else in the production area tried to do it, and you couldn't set up the cutter, the mullet. We call our shapers toupies. Toupie in French means spinning top, so that could be applied to a machine or a child's toy. You spin because something spins, and the cutters are called moulettes. So they either couldn't set it up or they butchered the job. It took too much time, and so they had me do it, and it was no problem for me. I loved always working on shapers, but. This is another reason why I want to do this video. Just for curiosity, I always look on YouTube for different things, even though I pretty well, know my craft. I'm not saying I'm best. There's some incredibly great woodworkers out there, whether they're carving or just concepts, But I'm pretty well knowledgeable about all phases of construction. And you're always picking up tips. You can never, not learn anything. There's always something you can pick up on. So I'm looking at every lock miter setup that I could find on YouTube. I looked at every one, as many as I could. That's a few days doing this, and I couldn't find one that sets a little router table up like I do. And in fact, I saw this one fellow. I'm not trying to knock the guy. I'm just saying he's there to to do a production, to promote a tool or whatever. And I don't know if it's a pull thing, old plastic yellow pull thing or what. But he did something you just never do. And on the vertical piece, he pulled it. He got on the left side of the cutter and pulled it through it. Of course, he had all kinds of problems. He had dipped on him through 3 different times, well, 4 times actually, the first time, and 3 additional times. You just don't do that. And here's a piece up like this, and the pull thing's in the middle. You go from the behind. You always push, and you go from behind with a large piece, like a big piece of plywood or something, and you push that through. And that's also good if you're doing wood, because it eliminates blowout in the bottom. But you're pushing, and you got that whole force on that item going through the cutter. Now, in my opinion, that's just an unsafe way of doing something. Now, either clearly I think he just wasn't experienced at it, or else if he knew better, he wouldn't have said, no, you don't do it that way. He would have done something different. Or he was forced to do it because maybe he was promoting that push thing, whatever it was he was doing, And other guys I've seen, they get big boards that straddle the guide, the fence, with clamps and all that kind of stuff. Every piece got to clamp it and then go through. What I'm going to show you, you can put feather boards if you want. You don't need to. I didn't. but you can put feather boards if you want. You definitely don't need clamps. You don't need any. The whole idea is you set it up one time, and then you run all your pieces flat and vertical. Run to one time. That's the beauty. And there is so much gluing surface on this thing. Now I'm probably, you don't even have to clamp it. But what I'm going to do, since it's, I'm going to have a false front, I'm probably going to glue it and then shoot some nails through the face of it. That's it. And then just let it sit up there. And then when I go because I'll have a square. What I usually do is make an angle, square on both sides, left and right. And so I can go one side and square it up and glue it and shoot it. And then the other side, it's a square, so it's pieces secured to a board. And then that way I know I'm square, and I don't have to go with, checking it with inside and all that. But I mean, it's fast, and it's really good, and it's neat and clean. I mean, if you want something clean, you can't get any cleaner than that, Like I say, I'm putting a false front in the front, or I should say a piece in the front. So the only thing you see is from the top down, and a lockmire joint's kind of interesting to look at, But then the average person probably never look. Just another tradesman looks at it. So the tragic part about all this, the reason why I'm stressing the safety about this, is because like some of you've worked on shapers too, and I worked before I was a carpenter. I worked at Lockheed. I ran NC equipment. 5 axes, bridge mills with 4 big motors on them. You walk on a table, it's so big. True trace, any number of different NC Bendix, the metal type at those days was a metal ribbon and with holes punched in it. But I mean, these machines are really good. So I'm aware of machines, big machines, the dangers of them. And yet, if you work safe, there's like a little baby. There's no problem. But a little router table, I have a woodpecker router table, and it's a good table, really nice, big heavy machine in it, and motor in it. And the cutter I have is a Freud. It's a brand new Freud. They just got it yesterday, and 2-inch. It'll go from 1/2 inch to 1 inch, and max RPM is 16,000. Other than that, I looked at all different types, and Freud's got a good name. I just liked it, so it won me over. But what I was going to tell you is, the year when I was going to retire, my French in France, the boss hired 2 young girls. One of them was probably designated to be one of the lead men eventually, because in France they still have the apprenticeship program, skills, technical skills, for people who want to learn a trade, So and you go through the course and you get a diploma. And these 2 girls did that. But yet I had to set up the shapers for both of them. And they're supposed to have known all this in school, and yet they weren't doing it. So I kind of wonder how good their actual program really is. The one girl was afraid of shapers. That's the reason why she really didn't do it. And they're pretty lenient. They'll let her get off. There's other things for her to do. But the one girl who was really the cute one, who was probably going to be the foreman, she ran the shapers, but I had to, set them up for her. And I will show her how I did it. And the way I do it is real safe in that I don't have an open cutter. I don't have an open throat. You don't have the 2 fences separated. There's a cutter spinning, and you pat. I put a piece of MDF in the front of that fence. I already know I have my lines marked out on my board. I know where I want to be with that cutter. I turn the machine on, and our cutters, our shapers were either digital or standard levers, but then, man, they were powerful. So I would turn the machine on, and I'd back that board into the cutter, and I already had it at a pretty close location, and then I would either raise it or lower to my target lines on the MDF, Then of course I got to pass a piece of if I want some sacrificial, just to make sure everything was pinpoint accurate, and that's it. That's it. And the best thing about it, it is safe. That there's no way your workpiece is going to go dip in, Skype, whatever you call it stuff. It's up against the MDF. Only thing coming out of the cutter is what's going to cut on your workpiece. That's it. And you got this panel. You pass all your work through, and in some cases, I put two pieces, a bottom and a top. So there was no opening at the bottom of that cutter also. It was, you got a panel on the fence and a panel on the deck also, table, which was secured, like one piece, L piece. So you just have to, there's no way to go in or dip or whatever. Safe, and I mean, I ran all kinds of stuff, We had this one job that was a long rectangular box, MDF, and what it was, it housed the drapes that came down, the metal curtains that came down the windows. They were actually for security, but they were good for weather also. And the roll was up in there, and it would come down, and we'd get these anywhere from 3 to 8, 10 feet, and I ran all those, all Lockmiter. So this young girl, I'm retired now. I'm in a village one weekend, and I'm getting some baguettes for lunch at the Boulanger. And I see one of the workers there, and he says, I believe it was a week or maybe 2 weeks at the most, after I left, this young girl, the one who was going to be probably the foreman someday, man, she was on a shaper, cut off her thumb, her index finger, part of her middle finger, and the tip of her ring finger on her right hand, and she's right-handed. I didn't ask for any details. I was sick. I mean, she was a nice girl, very attractive, young. I mean, could have been more. These two girls could have been more 20, 21, 22 at the most. They were very young, And I mean, that was terrible. So clearly, she didn't set her shaper up like I was teaching her, because that would have never happened. And the only time I never put a backer on that is when I ran these big door jams. We had some of these door jams are pretty large for some of the chateaus we worked on and buildings. And of course, you have all your detail on the back of the jam as well as the front, because to keep it from keep it stiff, keeps you break the grain up so the wood doesn't warp or whatever or bow on you. And of course you have your front detail and everything, but I just ran those through with you got your feeder and you got just lengths and run, so there was no need to put a sheet up. But when I ran some of the moldings, some of our moldings were compound moldings, we'd have 3 and maybe 4 pieces on one big section of molding that would go up I was everything else I put the sheet up. So other than that, that's it. Again, you never pull, you push your work through the cutter. You can best use a sacrificial piece of sheet of plywood or something, or another piece of MDF, or whatever you have. Don't need handles on it and everything. You can if you want. Feather boards, you can if you want it. I mean, if you do it right, you don't need all that. You can keep it simple. But I have feather boards right here. So you can see I didn't use them. I don't need it. Even if it was a big item. But yeah, if you feel good about it, why not? Okay, however you want to do it, fine. It's like I was talking about all these different jigs they have out there. If you like using those things, and some of those things are pretty expensive, more power to you. It doesn't mean you're any less a worker if you use something like that. Dovetailing jigs, box mounted jigs, whatever. I saw one guy. He made a box joint with a turn crank. He turned. I mean, it was pretty complicated. Turn crank, and it went over every exact, all wood, made its gears and everything. And, he enjoys it. He's good at it. Why not? Why not do it? Me, I just So I have a little jig, and I just make my little pin in there, and that's it. Even when I made dovetails on a table saw, you'll see this one gentleman how he shows it. Great idea. I copied the same thing he did. You know, two little different panels, and you either turn the blade or your panel your turns. You know, and slick, not bad. You know, a very good idea. So that's it. I think I've covered everything. You know, you got to know your cutter. I think in one of the videos there I mentioned that all cutters are marked off the center. That's not right. I misspoke there. I didn't mean to say that, and I did it. I'll even put a note in there. Like, for example, this specific cutter, Freud cutter, is 3/16 from the top or 3/16 from the bottom up on this particular 3/4 piece of MDF. And again, it changes because it goes 1/2 inch to 1 inch and whatever you might have in the middle, you know. So you just look at your cutter and get to know it, and if you have to make little notes, you know, in your book, you know, you should have projects and you have little notes there. And that's it. I'm going to be doing that, and of course when I get to my drawers, I'll probably put another excerpt in my video, because I'm going to make this on a DVD for my buddy and give him the DVD along with this bench so he can see how it came about. Other than that, that's it. There's my email address at the bottom. If you have any comments or questions, whatever. I don't have a website. I don't do this for a living. Although I understand now some of these guys do a pretty good living at it. You know, I wondered, some of these young people, they have these huge shops, and in some cases they've built them. They've moved, and they've built. They didn't come, you know, from a wealthy family, and yet I was wondering, where do they get? You know, they must have a grandma or something that's buying all these machines. They're just too young, you know. I know what it takes to build custom cabinets, you know, premium grade stuff, and what you can get for it. And man, you got to build a lot of them to be able to do what these kids have done. But I think it's just a question of that they're able to actually make a pretty good living at this YouTube thing. So you know, more power to them. You know, I watch them and I learn things from them. You know, they got great ideas. I wish I was creative as some of these people are in what they come up with. And I just, you know, my hat's off to April. She's pretty impressive. She gets there and works. It's hard work, and her and her husband, you know, how they get along and help one another, I think is really commendable and very inspiring for a lot of people. And to be as young as they are, just energetic. So also a lot of guys, Jay Bates, and there's a few others that, you know, the Wood Whisperer. Kind of interesting how they really present themselves, and you know, my hat's off to them. My days are past. It's too late for me in a way, but there's so many others, you know. The Wrangler out there, the Wrangler Star, whatever, you know, he's out there in his homestead, and the other one I'm trying to think of. Oh, there's so many of them, I just can't throw their names, but there's a lot of them good out there. So, there's my email address. Give me a shout if you want. No? Okay. I really hope this helps you. Especially my videos are for the young beginner, you know, not for the guys I just talked about. They're way past all this stuff. They probably think this is silliness. But for the young beginner, you know, you don't know, you know, how to do certain things. This is the way to go with your shaper table. It's a dangerous machine, but when you understand how it works, it's a toy. You know, it's like anything else. You learn about it, you treat it good, it'll treat you good. You be safe, don't get good habits, you know. And other than that, see you on the next one. Have a good time in the shop. Work safe, and as always, don't use any putty. All right? See you in the next one. Bye-bye.